First, I'm going to start by putting water. That's not enough.
In his wheelchair, it was really difficult. There was blood everywhere. I don't know how I'm going to survive this. The images of them are in front of my eyes. Despite the promise of peace, some families are still fleeing. Valentina Pavlovna is a widow who says she's too afraid to stay any longer. But there's a war of the ceasefire. Do you not believe in that? Oh, God willing that it will happen. If it does, we'll come back, she says. There are as many as 1 million displaced people in the east. But with peace at least in prospect, there's sometimes aid can get through to people like these residents of an old folks' home in rebel territory near Donetsk. The local commander took us to meet those who were barely surviving. He would hear their fury. There was a body lying here for 2 days, she tells him. We couldn't bury it. No one cares about us. We're like abandoned dogs. The fighter is lost for words. The conflict is not settled, the land is divided, and the people of the East know simmering hatreds can erupt into war again. After all they've suffered, only the test of time will convince them peace is really coming. Further Keane, BBC News, Mariupol.
The faces of the people who are caught up in this conflict. Well, as we heard earlier, the other big crisis on NATO's agenda today was what to do about the threat posed by the Islamic State. President Obama vowed to degrade and ultimately defeat the militants, but there are increasing questions about whether that will require going into Syria. In Kurdish areas of northern Syria, fighters have been battling Islamic State for 2 years now. And unlike Iraq's Kurdish forces, they get no help from the West. The BBC's Gabriel Gatehouse has got to meet them.
A short boat trip across the River Tigris takes you from Iraq into northern Syria. The Kurds have forged their own path through the brutal civil war between the opposition and the regime. As they've carved out their territory, so have the Islamic State. This is their front line. IS fighters are holed up just a few kilometers away. Around a third of the Syrian Kurdish fighting force is made up of women. Many of them are still teenagers. They fight alongside the men, facing the same enemy and the same dangers. Biren is just 19 years old.
When they see a woman with a gun, they're so afraid they begin to shake. They portray themselves as tough guys to the world. They see women as just little things, but one of our women is worth 100 of theirs.
The Kurds have been battling the Islamic State for more than 2 years now. Unlike the Iraqis, they've managed to defend their territory without the help of US airstrikes. They've also taken prisoners. Some of them were marched in front of our camera. We weren't allowed to speak to them, but their jailers said they were Syrian Arabs caught fighting alongside the IS.
Most of the ones we capture are locals. The foreign fighters always do each other, and when we capture them, they blow themselves up.
In the deserted villages around the front line, one of the few signs of life is the barrel of a tank peeping out from behind a mud hut. Well, the Kurds have got their flag flying from atop that little hillock there. The Islamic State are in control. The next village, that one shimmering in the distance over there. And the only people that are left are here to fight. The war has split communities here. Some Sunni Arab villages support the Islamic State, but others have joined the Kurds.
Half of the people around here are with IS. They opened their gates now. They were our neighbours, our families, until they joined
this local support that has allowed the IS to spread like a cancer through the region, and the Kurds know they can't defeat them on their own. Gabriel Gatehouse, BBC News in northern Syria.
It's striking that in Syria and in Iraq, those front lines are so close. Well, for more on what it will take to defeat the Islamic State, I spoke a short time ago with Zalmay Khalilzad. He's the former American ambassador to Iraq, and he has just returned from Baghdad. Zalmay Khalilzad, you've just come back from Iraq. What do you think the prospects are there for a political solution that could make way for the Islamic State to be rolled back?
Well, that's necessary to happen, and given that this is a life and death issue for Iraq, and given that Maliki is waiting in the wings, if this government is not able to put something together, that he will stay on as acting prime minister, I'm cautiously optimistic that an agreement on a government will happen, but that will not be sufficient to motivate the Sunnis to take on ICE, which is what everyone wants. For that, one would have to offer political, security, financial assistance to the Sunnis, in other words, to protect them as they take on ICE.
Right, because if they now, having assisted the Islamic State, turn against the Islamic State, those Sunni leaders would have a target on their backs.
Indeed, and therefore it will take more than the formation of the government, and it will take time for them to test how serious the commitment to them are by the United States, by the other states in the area, and how truthful the government is with its commitments to the Sunnis.
You mentioned the other states there. When you were in Baghdad, who's there? Who's operating in Baghdad at the moment? Who's working together to try and fix this?
Well, one of the things that has happened as a result of ICE is that there's unusual coalitions working together that has not often been the case. Right now, the U.S. and Iran, for example, are helping Baghdad and the Kurds.
Actively cooperating.
Actively cooperating, whether it's coordinated and synchronized, that's not clear, but for example, when the U.S. operates from the air, in places like Amerli, there were Iranians on the ground. There were also Iranians who brought weapons to the Kurds first, before even the U.S. bombing started. And there are also conversations starting between Saudi Arabia and Iran to cooperate against ICE. If it grows and produces results in Iraq, the hope would be that they will also cooperate to deal with the Syrian problem, because the ICE problem won't go away without also dealing with the Syrian issue.
Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, all countries that have been mentioned in connection with early funding of the Islamic State. Do you think that those countries, from the trip that you've just made, have come to the conclusion now that this is not in their best interest?
They would admit to helping ICE at the beginning, but I think that probably they have come to a judgment that the Frankenstein that they created has gone out of control and is now a threat to them too, and therefore they're beginning to change and adjust policy.
Zalmay Khalilzad, you're watching BBC World News Americans.com on tonight's program. It was as large as a commercial airliner tonight, introducing to the dinosaur who lived big. At least 100 people have died in Pakistan and India because of flooding caused by heavy monsoon rains that came late in the season. Most of the deaths have been in northern Punjab and Pakistani-administered Kashmir. The authorities have predicted that at least 2 more days of heavy downpours will hit the region. That will make matters even worse, of course. The BBC's Andy North reports from the Pakistani capital, Islamabad.
Rescued by boat from Pakistan's fast rising flood. Soldiers getting this family to safety. With many towns and cities now inundated, the army is deploying hundreds of troops to help with the rescue effort. But it's been too late for many people, and the number of casualties is growing.
There are still many people stranded here. Fortunately,
Fortunately, the army has come to help us now. We have rescued 22 people with craft so far, but we can only get to them with boats. And you can see the waters are still rising. The poor have been the worst hit. Many of them crushed to death when their badly constructed homes have become waterlogged and collapsed on top of them. With the flooding still spreading, large swathes of northern Pakistan have been cut off. And everyone thought the heavy rains of the annual monsoon season were over. Instead, Pakistan's weather service said there's still more to come. Andrew North, BBC News, Islamabad.
5 miners have died after being trapped overnight in a collapsed coal mine in Bosnia. These were the scenes at the mine in Zenica, and rescuers worked to bring nearly 30 of their